Welcome to lesson 2 of Control System 1 course. Today we'll be discussing about concept of transfer function, poles and zeros of a particular system. Before starting this discussion, let me summarize yesterday's, that is lesson 1's class. What we discussed in lesson 1 is what is control system, what is open loop control system, what is closed loop control system, different applications of control system, necessity of control system, that we discussed in our first lesson. Now, in order to analyze a particular system, in order to design a controller, we must go through an approach which is known as transfer function based approach. You all know that any particular system or any particular device can be represented by its transfer function, can be represented by state model, can be represented by circuit diagram, represented by schematic diagram or single line diagram. So all these are different ways of representing a particular system. Now, for control system analysis, transfer function based approach and state variable based approach are mostly used by control engineers. So what is transfer function based approach? How can we analyze a system using transfer function based approach? That we'll be discussing in under this course. But for today, for today's class, we'll be discussing what is transfer function, how can we represent a system by using transfer function, what are the basic concepts of poles and zeros of a particular system, that we are going to discuss today. What is significance of poles and zeros, that we'll also discuss. So let us start with concept of transfer function. So today we'll be discussing these three subtopics under this lesson. There is concept of transfer function, pole zeros of a transfer function, and pole zero map. So what is concept of transfer function? What is pole zeros? What is pole zero mapping? That will be discussed in this lesson. So after successful completion of this topic, you will be possibly able to understand the transfer function based control system approach. You'll be able to define different poles, zeros of a transfer function. You'll be able to obtain pole zero mapping of a particular transfer. So first, let us start with what is transfer function. As I already told you, any system can be represented by several ways: by circuit diagram, by schematic diagram, by mathematical equations, or by transfer function. So transfer function is a way of representing a particular system or device, and generally transfer function based approaches are used in control system analysis. So what is transfer function? See, if you can look at this diagram, if you can look at this diagram, see here, this is input and this is out. Suppose this is a motor. For a motor, input is electric voltage and output is its torque or speed, whatever. So by applying voltage, by increasing input voltage, your speed will be increased. This motor is a practical device which takes some input and accordingly produces output. So this motor is giving some input output relationship. That is why it is written a transfer function provides input output relationship. Now, any motor can be represented by its circuit diagram, its mathematical equation, phasor diagram, or can be represented by its transfer function. So, in electrical engineering and control system analysis, we'll be using transfer function based app. Now, what is definition of transfer function? A transfer function can be defined as the ratio of output Laplace transformation of output to Laplace transformation of input, provided initial conditions are zero. See, for example, for example, this is output, this is input. These are written in S domain or complex frequency domain. So S domain representation is nothing but if time domain signal is given as RT, it can be converted to RS or frequency domain signal by Laplace transformation method. So this is Laplace transformation of input. This is Laplace transformation of output. So transfer function of any system is defined as the ratio of output Laplace to input Laplace. But remember that this point is to be noted very carefully that initial conditions are assumed to be zero in case of transfer function based approach. So this is one drawback of transfer function based approach. For example, suppose you have charged capacitor. Charged capacitor should have some initial charge within it. In case of transfer function based approach, we'll have to assume that initial charge in the capacitor is zero. So we'll not be taking that initial charge of the capacitor into existence. Due to that, very accurate analysis may not be possible. So this is one drawback of transfer function based approach. In order to overcome this drawback, later in next semester we'll be studying state variable analysis, state variable based approach. State variable based approach considers all the initial conditions of the energy storing element, and hence in case of state variable approach, you'll get better accurate result, better accurate analysis. Now, transfer function is denoted by GS. In some book, you will find it is denoted by GS. In some book, it is denoted by something else. So most of the book uses this notation. Transfer function is denoted in most of the books by GS. So this definition can be written in mathematical form as GS equals to Laplace transformation of output by Laplace transformation of input, that is CS by RS with zero initial condition. Okay. Now let us move to next slide. Okay. Now what is pole zero of a transfer function? Pole zeros of a transfer function actually determines system behavior. How a system should behave, that entirely depends on location of pole zeros. Poles and zeros are nothing but some complex frequency points, and those points, those locations of pole zeros for a particular transfer function or for a particular system will determine how the system actually should behave. So that is why this pole zero calculation is very important for control system analysis. Later in this entire course, we'll be studying how poles and zeros are affecting system response, system dynamic response, or steady state response. All will be affected by pole zero location. So before going into detailed analysis, we must know how poles and zeros of a particular transfer function or of a particular uh, system is calculated. That we'll be discussing now. See, zeros of a transfer function are defined as the roots of polynomial of the numerator of a transfer function. As we know, transfer function, see here, transfer function is ratio of two quantities. One is numerator, another is denominator. If numerator is equated to 0, if this numerator is equated to 0, you will get some values of s that are z1, z2, z1, comma z2. So this z1, z2 are values of s for which this numerator part becomes 0. Now when numerator part becomes 0, the entire transfer function, this gs becomes 0. That is why we have written it can also be defined as the values of complex frequency. Values of complex frequency, that is values of s, for which the transfer function becomes 0. If s becomes z1, if s equals to z1, then this entire transfer function z1 minus z1 is 0. So entire transfer function will become 0. So this is the concept of 0. Now see here, it is also written that it is defined as the root of polynomial of the numerator. See, this is the numerator polynomial whose roots can be calculated by equating this to 0. So both are same. So this is 0. Now, similarly, if concept of 0 is understood, if calculation of 0 is understood, it is calculation of poles is more or less similar to calculation of zeros. For to find zeros, numerator part should be equated to 0. To find poles, denominator part should be equated to 0. So if denominator part of the transfer function is equated to 0, you'll get some values of s for which the denominator part becomes 0 or for which the transfer function becomes infinite. Those values of s for which the denominator part becomes 0 are known as poles. Poles are defined as roots of polynomials of denominator of a transfer function. It is also defined as the complex frequency for which the transfer function becomes infinite. Okay. Okay. Now, now let us assume this is the transfer function. For this transfer function, if numerator part is equated to 0, we'll get the zeros. Zeros are located at z1, z2. Similarly, if denominator is equated to 0, we'll get pole values. Those are p1, p2. Now, this is very important point that systems dynamic and steady state behavior entirely depends on the pole zero location. So first we must understand how to calculate the values of pole zeros. Once pole zero values are calculated, then we can move further to analyze a system response, system behavior based on those pole zero locations. Now, how to determine pole zero gain of a complex transfer function. Suppose you have a transfer function like this. You have a transfer function like this. This is a complex transfer function. Now, how to find pole zero and gain value? See, the first step from this general expression of transfer function is to take common. What to take common? See here for this transfer function, highest power of s in the numerator is 2, and in the denominator part, highest power of s is 3. So here we have written rewriting in such a way that highest power of s have unity coefficient in both numerator and denominator. What does that mean? For the first case, for the first case, for the numerator part, highest power of s is 2, which is associated with a b0 coefficient. Now this b0 coefficient should not be there. In this step, in this step, as mentioned, highest power of s in both numerator and denominator should have unity coefficient. So to have that unity coefficient in the numerator, let us take common b0. Let us take b0 common in the numerator. Then, if b0 is taken common, then coefficient of highest power of s in the numerator, that is a square's coefficient, will be 1. That is unity. And once b naught is taken common, this will be divided by b naught. It's simple. Similarly, highest power of s in the denominator is s cube, that is 3, which is associated initially with a naught coefficient, but in this second step, the denominator of highest power of a should not have any coefficient other than unity. That is why we had taken a naught common. So b naught by a naught is taken out, and remaining part is this. Now, any polynomial, say a square plus 3s plus any polynomial can be written in factored form. This is s plus 1. Any polynomial can be written in factored form. That is why we have moved to step 3 by rewriting it in factored form. So by rewriting it in factored form, this this part can be written in this factored form, like this one, like this. This part can be written in factored form, and b naught by a naught is assumed to be k. So where k is b naught by a naught, which is the gain of transfer function, z1, z2 are zeros as we discussed in last slide. P1, P2, P3 are poles of the system. So this is how we can get pole zero gain values of a particular transfer function. Let us move to next slide. Here we have written some numericals. We have solved some numericals. Let us start with the simple numerical, this one. Here it is already in factored form, isn't it? It is already in factored form. So what we discussed in last slide, any general expression will be first written in factored form, then we must find pole zero value. But as in this problem, it is already in factored form. That is why we don't need to follow first two steps of the previous slide. So it is much easier to calculate pole zero values for such transfer functions. This is the numerator part. As you know, if numerator part is equated to 0, if numerator part is equated to 0, that is done here, then we'll get few values of s which are known as zeros of the transfer function. So s equals to 2, 4 and minus 6 are zeros of the transfer function. Similarly, to find poles, this denominator part is equated to 0 and we will get these values of poles. Now see here, there is one s squared term. So we'll get, by solving this, we'll get two zeros for the s squared term. For this s squared term, we'll get two zeros. If it is instead of s square, if it is s, then we'll get only one zero. If it is s cube, then we'll get three zeros. Likewise. Now let us move to next problem. This is a bit complex one, which is given in polynomial form. In this polynomial form, see here highest power of s in the numerator is 2, that is a square. Highest power of s in the denominator is 3. So as per the steps, first what shall we do? We will take common 6 common from numerator, as highest power of s is associated with coefficient of 6. Similarly, in the denominator, highest power of s is associated with 2 coefficient. So in the denominator we'll take a 2 common, in the numerator we'll take a 6 common. So by taking that common, 6 and 2, what will happen? If 6 is taken common, then s square plus 18s will be 3s, as 6 is taken common, 12 will be 2. Similarly, as from denominator 2 is taken common, 2 is taken common. So s cube plus 5s square plus 8s plus 6. So 6 by 2 can be written as 3. This is written as 3, which is gain of the system, b naught by a naught as we discussed. And a square plus 2, 3s plus 2 can be written in factored form, s plus 1 into s plus 2. And this can be written in another factored form, which is complex form, which is given by s plus 1 minus j, s plus 1 plus j, and s plus 3. Once this factored form is obtained, you can easily calculate gain and you can easily calculate pole and zero values. So by equating this to 0, you will get minus 1 and minus 2 are zeros. By equating this term, this denominator to 0, you will get minus 1 plus j, minus 1 minus j, and minus 3 are poles of the transform. So this is what about pole 0, determination of pole 0 and gain of a transfer. Again, I'm telling you, this calculation is very much important for control system analysis, because later we'll be discussing stability analysis, we'll be discussing controller design. All those designs, all those analysis are depending on pole 0 gain value, especially location of pole. Until and unless pole locations are determined, we won't be able to analyze a particular control system. We won't be able to design a controller, design and compensator for a particular control system to obtain desired response. So that is why this calculation of pole 0 gain is very important to analyze a particular control system. Okay, let us move to next slide. This tells us about pole 0 map. If you can look at this pole 0 map, first let us see the axis. X axis is real axis, y axis is imaginary axis. What we are going to do? We are going to map pole 0 value. This is nothing but a complex frequency plane or S plane. Now, for the previous example, we have got minus 1 and minus 2 are zeros, minus 1 plus j, minus 1 minus j, and minus 3 are poles of that particular transfer function. Now, these values we are going to plot in pole 0 map. This pole 0 map can be drawn by hand. This pole 0 map can be obtained by using MATLAB programming or any control simulator programming. So generally poles are denoted by cross, zeros are denoted by circle. So we have two zeros at minus 1 and minus 2. So these two zeros will be denoted by circle in pole 0 map. Now see, this is real axis, this is real axis, this is minus 1. So 1 0 will be located at minus 1. See, this is location of 1 0 at minus 1. Similarly, another 0, this is minus 2, another 0 is located at minus 2. Similarly, when we are going to plot the poles, the first pole is located at minus 1 plus. What is minus 1? Minus 1 is real value and plus j is imaginary value. Plus j means plus j1. So this is minus 1. So this is minus 1 axis, and minus 1 plus j means this one. See, this is j axis, this is plus j axis, imaginary axis, and this is minus j axis. Now, so this should be this should be J1. This should be J1. So this is 0. So this length is -1, and this height is, as we mentioned, this height is J1. So -1 plus J1 is location of one pole. Location of one pole is -1 plus J1. Location of another pole is -1 minus J1. These two poles are together known as complex conjugate pair of poles. These two poles are known as complex conjugate pair of poles. Another pole is located at -3, which is the real value. There is no imaginary value. So it is on real axis. There is no imaginary part at -3. Minus. So this is how we can get pole zero plot of any transfer. So first, what shall you do? First, you need to get the factored form of the given transfer function. You need to calculate poles and zeros by equating denominator and numerator to 0 respectively. Once pole zero values are obtained, take x-axis as real axis, y-axis as imaginary axis, mark the values, mark the uh, values of 0 0.5123 like that, 0 1 2 3 in imaginary axis as well, and place the poles and zeros as per the coordinate. That is how you can get pole zero plot of a particular transfer function. Next. Once this topic is discussed, once you have gone through this topic, understood this topic, you'll be able to understand, or you'll be able to answer the significance of poles of a particular transfer function. What is significance of a pole? As I already discussed, depending on pole values, a system may become stable, may become unstable. A system response speed can vary accordingly. So dynamic as well as steady state behavior of a particular system entirely depends on pole zero value. That is why this question is very important. What is significance of pole? Okay. Next, we discussed in this slide, we discussed how to get pole zero gain values from a transfer function. Similarly, if pole zero gain values are given, how to obtain transfer function? Just it's reverse process. These values are given, you need to get the transfer function. And last one is write down the properties of transfer function. So these questions you may solve once you go through the entire lesson. As of now, I'm ending this session. Thank you all.